Who gon' take it there? 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 Electricity, 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 electricity. You know what's in the air. 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 It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility.
So ever since the Trump administration's Department of Justice has come out and said the Epstein files don't exist, they're not real, there never was a client list, there never were any clients, there's no videos, there's no evidence. He killed himself, there's nothing fishy about his death at all. There's been a lot of commotion in the MAGA movement over this. And to be honest with you, I don't know why, because there's so many other betrayals that I think are so much more material. But I think that is indicative of something in the MAGA movement, which we all really already knew, but it makes it even clearer that it really is about like culture war and sort of these symbolic battles and spiritual warfare. That's how a lot of the MAGA world seems to view all of this, is in a more vague sense of, you know, good versus evil and that sort of thing. And so they're very confused about this whole Trump Epstein thing, because Trump was supposed to be the good one. Despite all the bad things you've heard about him, despite all the ways the media has tried to turn you against him, Trump is the one who's fighting for good, and everybody against him really wants evil. And that's why they're always trying to present you with facts and information, and they're trying to inform you and indoctrinate you, is because they're evil. And Trump is here to save us and cut through the bullshit. So a lot of people bought into that and went along with kind of whatever it was that Trump actually wanted to do. Like, oh, Project 2025, yeah, I heard something vague about that. I think it's fake news. I don't know. They kind of were on board with whatever, because they bought the vague idea that Trump is the underdog. Trump is the one who's fighting against the forces of evil. And so now their symbolic sort of watershed of corruption and evil, spiritual evil within the government, within the world, this Epstein stuff and whatever it's tied to. Now it seems like Trump, to them, is covering this up, just like all the other people that they were made to believe are evil. So for some reason, this Epstein stuff is the thing that has become a symbol of wrongdoing that is so undeniable that even the MAGA base won't forgive him for it. Now, that's only the case for now. And I'm pretty firmly on the side of, this is going to wash over. Most of the people who are talking about this, how betrayed they are by Trump, or people who have already turned on Trump by this point, they're kind of desperately grasping for whatever their reason to get back on board is, whatever the change in conditions is going to be, that they can suddenly say, okay, Trump, I'm back with Trump because there are all these riots going on in all of these cities, and Trump is the only one who can bring us back to law and order. Stuff like that. That's going to be what gets people, we have all these weather disasters and economic disaster, and Trump is the only one who can negotiate our way through this. That's the kind of thing that's going to get people back on board. So Andrew Schulz has gone viral again for doing this episode about Trump Epstein. They did this whole bit where they're wearing their tinfoil hats throughout the episode. But ultimately, the tone of it is this sort of like being aghast and shocked and appalled at this betrayal by Trump that he's not putting out the Epstein files. And again, I mean, it's interesting to me that this is making such ripples. But I guess things are starting to mount up, right? Whether it's Trump going to war with Iran, or the fact that Trump's economic policy seems pretty chaotic and not very promising. And now this Epstein stuff, people are starting to take it as a sign that Trump is going in the wrong direction and he is betraying his base, etc. So let's listen a little bit to what Andrew Schulz here said on his podcast. I want to emphasize that I don't think, in this case, Andrew Schulz or these guys he's talking to, his buddies here, I don't think they deserve much credit, because they sat next to Trump, they talked to him, they helped him get elected, and they are not fully off board. They're not. They're dancing around it. They're trying to find a way that they can bring themselves back on board, and a way to rationalize why Trump would be doing the same thing that the rest of the establishment has done when it comes to Epstein, which is cover up, cover up, cover up, without the most obvious thing that's right in front of their face, which is that Donald Trump is the number one person in the world that wants this Epstein stuff covered up. People are, the MAGA base is looking for a more powerful person than Trump that is going to get caught up in this. No, the most powerful person that is implicated in the Epstein files is Donald Trump. You guys made him the most powerful person in the world. And yes, he was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. So let's listen to Andrew Schulz and his buddies try to rationalize their way through this.
So there's a version of this where he is involved, right? That's not completely clean just yet. He is involved. To what extent, we do not know. But it's not like the most absurd thing, right? Like, the guy was partying with Epstein.
I think, yeah.
Right? So
his name was in the black book.
I think Trump's fucked a hooker or two in his life. That wouldn't be like the most shocking thing to ever hear, right?
Yeah.
Now, is he asking for ID every single time? I don't know. And that's that's probably the name of the game, right? It's like you get the girls that are 16 or whatever to go, and then the guys aren't asking questions, you fuck them, and now you got it all on video. Yeah. Let's go through. There's another scenario. Let's assume Trump isn't compromised. But the intelligence communities come to him and they basically say, this is us. This is what we do. There are a lot of people here that are going to go down if you out this. And the reality is you're not going to out this. And I would like to take this a little further. There's a version where the intelligence community comes in, they go, you don't really run the country. You get to make a lot of decisions, and that's fine. But you look the other way at the things we do, and we look the other way at the things you do. And then once the things you do cross paths with the things that we do, we remind you that you don't really run the country. I believe that about Trump. I believe when Trump, everything he campaigned on, I believe he wanted to do. And now he's doing the exact opposite thing of every single fucking thing.
I don't know what he's done. Yeah, exactly to your point. If you tell me, it's easier for me to believe you wanted to do all these things if any of them were happening in the way that you said they were.
To that point, like, there'll be people that, like, they'll DM me and be like, you see what your boy's doing? You voted for this. I'm like, I voted for none of this. He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for.
Yeah.
I want him to stop the wars. He's funding them. I want him to shrink spending, reduce the budget. He's increasing it. It's like everything that he said he's going to do, except sending immigrants back. And now he's even flip-flopped on that, which I kind of like. But he's like, oh, well, we kind of need the people working in restaurants, and we need our farmers. It's like everything that he said that he was going to do that he campaigned
Well, he said to us, which was important, and I thought it was good. You pressed him on it. Well, you got to start with the criminals in terms of deporting. I don't even know if the criminals are getting sent back. I know there's a lot of people with green cards getting sent back. There's people who aren't criminals getting sent back. I don't know if you're sending back the criminals first. You're definitely not doing it first. I don't know if you're sending them back at all. So nothing has happened.
I'll be honest with you. Like, I think one of the things that was really refreshing about Mamdani is him in that press conference saying, like, I'm not going to Israel. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to do what is best for the people in New York City. Like, I think that was an important message, right? People keep on calling him anti-Semitic or whatever like that. And I don't know what his feeling on Jews is, right? But, like, right now where it feels like so many politicians are bought, him putting like a massive spotlight on the fact that he's not, and he wants you to know that. I think that was very refreshing for a lot of people.
Kind of Trump-esque. Yeah. Like, this is a weird comparison, but it just shows that he's an outsider.
You ready? He said earlier. You ready? It's America first. The only party right now that to me seems America first is the Democrat Socialist Party.
Yep.
Bernie is America first. Mamdani and all his ideas that he will not be able to execute, and I frankly think many of them are not good ideas, even if they do execute. I frankly think I disagree with them. But he is no doubt New York first. Who knows if he can actually do these things for New York, but the policies seem to want to help people here. That's what I care about. And if MAGA wants to take this America First thing back, they got to start looking out for America. And it doesn't seem like they're doing. Lying to Americans is not America First.
All right, so yeah, it is quite painful to listen to these guys kind of baby step their way through this. And we're making some progress, okay? So they seem to be slowly absorbing the idea that they've been had. And they have many different ways of processing that. And like I said, none of this stuff is going to stick because they went out so far on a limb for this, especially Andrew Schulz, particularly him, that like any excuse that he can grasp onto to start talking about Trump more positively and sort of get away from this tone that this isn't what he wanted, he's going to take, because the only other option is to pivot to criticizing Trump consistently. And I don't think any of these guys have the stomach for that. Although it's likely that whether it's Schulz or somebody else who's sort of like deeper in the conservative, grifter media world, there are going to be people who break off and start running with a specifically anti-Trump narrative. And especially because Elon is now doing this other third party thing, it's possible that they're going to start floating candidates or something in that world and then use a lot of sort of online trickery and propaganda tactics to put that person at the forefront. And then, boom, you got the potential next leader of whatever this MAGA movement might become after Trump is gone. One way or the other, Trump's gone, whether he keeps running until he drops dead or whether he leaves office in this next term. Eventually, something else is going to happen, and the conservatives want to set the stage for themselves to perpetually be in power, but we don't know how much of that power that they have gathered is directly related to Trump, and they don't know how much of it is going to crumble because of how terrible of a job Trump is doing. Andrew Schulz says some of the grossest shit I've heard him say, honestly, if you really think about it in context, this thing that he says about, I'm sure Trump has fucked some hookers and isn't IDing them. I mean, if you think about the implications of what he's saying there in context, that is a really, really disgusting thing to say. Very flippant. And Andrew Schulz has a history, supposedly, of some kind of abuse in his relationships, allegedly, according to a previous girlfriend. He was very bizarre in his behavior to her. And he has said these weird things previously about kind of like domination fantasies and stuff, and said that was a thing that he likes about Trump. And so now to see him, they're framing this Epstein thing as though it's something they care about so deeply. And yet to see him, when it comes to Trump and Trump's involvement in it, framing it as, well, I'm sure he's fucked some hookers and hasn't checked their IDs. I mean, that's really horrific. And there's no context that I'm removing that from that makes it better. I mean, that is the context. And it's actually pretty atrocious when you look at it for what it is. They also, this theory about the intel community comes to them, tells Trump, listen, you're not releasing this stuff. I know you said you will, and that's cute, but you're not releasing that. I mean, that theory's out the window. Trump got rid of all those people, man. I mean, even if you're going to make the argument that there's a deep state in charge and they're calling the shots, not only was that the argument for electing Trump in the first place was that he was going to get rid of all of those people, but that was the argument for Doge and everything that they were doing in the federal government as well, is that they were getting rid of these deep state, this bureaucratic rot that creates the forever government, which is a phrase that he uses in this episode of his podcast, Andrew Schulz. So that was the whole idea of Trump, not just electing Trump, but this whole first few months of his presidency. And a lot of guys like Schulz have been praising Doge's activities and these broad firings that they're doing within the federal government. So the idea that somebody who's in the deep state is coming to Trump and saying, you're not really in charge, once again, that is just a complete contradiction of everything that the Trump administration was supposed to be. And so they are on a certain level acknowledging that in this conversation, but they're not quite acknowledging that the whole premise of what is supposed to be happening within the Trump administration is coming apart because of this story. I mean, supposedly these guys thought they were going right in, they were grabbing everything they could on Epstein, we're going to release this to the public. I mean, that's really what these guys thought. But now it's becoming clear to them what was clear to me and probably many other people, that as soon as they got into the halls of power, they have been working on how they're going to cover this up. That's obvious because, once again, the most powerful person who was involved in this Epstein stuff is now the president. And so I mean, these guys fell victim to like the biggest, most blatant, and one of the most successful psyops in all of history. They say it's not what they voted for, but it is, because ultimately they chose to reject all of the different sources that were telling them that this is what Trump is. And it's possible that the left, the actual left, didn't do a good enough job of letting people know of that, because the actual left was very focused on Kamala Harris, whether or not she could be pushed, and the lack of any desire that she expressed to change policy from the Biden administration. That was a big problem for a lot of people on the left and became a big focus. But there could have been more voices pointing out specifically to guys like this that this is exactly what would happen if Trump were to be elected. I mean, you know, it's entirely possible we didn't spend enough time focusing on that, because if guys like this is the first time all this stuff is occurring to them, I mean, I don't know, maybe they're completely hopeless, but I tend to think of it as it's a failure on our part, because people like Zohran Mamdani, Bernie Sanders, and you know, quote unquote populists and progressives like that are reaching these people when they try. And so that is part of the kind of shift in at least this rhetoric that we're seeing here, is Schulz has talked to guys like Bernie Sanders and, you know, realize that the message they're talking about is about delivering for citizens of this society and trying to make this society better and in real terms. So not only have candidates like that not, I think, reached guys like this and audiences like this enough, it's not about these guys, but it's about all of the people who casually listen to them. You know, but I also think people who oppose the general fascism that we're seeing now have not done a good enough job of reaching guys like this, because, yeah, I mean, in some ways, these dudes are ready to come to these conclusions. If not Schulz, then maybe the people sitting with him, although they seem to be pretty much followers. You know, I don't know. I think that the cruelty of the administration is something that a guy like Schulz and Joe Rogan and others like them wanted to pursue, and they want to distance themselves from it now. And so I don't think there's any real hope of a movement to the left here. But I do think there's an opening of the type of rhetoric that's going to start to carry the political conversation forward, because it does seem like with this Epstein stuff, whether it sticks or not, people are starting to get sick of Trump. And, you know, he's always been able to turn that around in the past, and these guys bite every time. They always take whatever bait Trump throws out there for him. They fall for every trick and every, you know, set of jingling keys that is put in front of them. So I think that's probably what's going to happen again. But at the same time, in order to push the political conversation forward, we have to exploit some of these flaws that people are noticing and how Trump fits into the power structures that they hate. That's what people did with Biden that was effective, is they pointed out how Biden was just kind of contributing to this amalgam of power that represents everything that people of the last 3 generations have hated their entire lives. And so that was really effective at turning the tides against Biden and then Kamala Harris, even towards Trump. People preferred Trump to to the representation of power that Biden became in their eyes. And so we can do that with Trump, and we can present a better option, because even Zohran Mamdani is starting to cut through the noise. And so that is the one of the very few silver linings that I see at the moment. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you really want to support, consider becoming a member. That's the best way to support this channel. I also got my website up and running now. I've got a couple items in the shop there, like a hoodie and a hat. I'm not even really making any money off of that. I'm selling it pretty much at retail price just because I want to get some stuff out there. So if that's your cup of tea, go look at that. I'm also running a live stream of my music 24/7. So go drop a comment on that if you're interested. Check out the EPs I've dropped recently. All this stuff is available for members first, and a lot of the stuff that's going to be playing on the live stream is only otherwise available for members only. So check that out if you want to support, and if there's other stuff that you want to see as members only content, let me know and we'll work some things out.